All right, what is up, my friends? Welcome. We're going to be going over a couple of my matches that I've played last weekend. What's up, Justin? Thanks for reset. Appreciate that. Last weekend was the Mythic Invitational Qualifier on Arena, as well as the Red Bull Untapped Qualifier. I played both those. Played them both at the same time, and started out well in both of them and kind of petered out at the end. But I got a few interesting matches that I wanted to go over, and this one's by far the most interesting. This is a match we played against a blue-white control deck. We are playing Ramp. It is Emma Handy's, Autumn Burchett's deck they played. Crap, I should add this up. At the MPL weekend. I don't even know what it's called. It was kind of cool, but crap. No deck list? No deck list, obviously. It's Ramp. It's just a stock list. You can look it up. So we're gonna go over the match against against Dimir control. We played, I believe it was round 3 of the Mythic Qualifier, and 1.5 speed. Gonna go over the match here, and we're gonna learn how to play against control deck. This is the worst intro of all time. I'm just the worst. Let's go. Qualifier weekend. Win the die roll. Easy game. So you can see we're playing the Genesis Ultimatum Ugin Ramp deck. Don't know what our opponent's playing. It's closed deck list for the qualifier. And a fine hand here. We got Bonecrusher Giant, some lands, Ultimatum on the play. Bonecrusher obviously buys a lot of time really well. Opponent plays the Sultai Triome, so like Rogues, Control maybe. He plays a Maze Mind Tome, so now we know they're a control deck. Kind of an unorthodox looking list here, but fire off Stomp with the intent to play Bonecrusher, so we get threats on the board. One of the more important things you're playing as control deck is to get threats in play, so they have to react to you and not able to kind of like just do their thing. Play Bonecrusher, draw a million ultimatums. So we can see here we've drawn a second Bonecrusher Giant, a bunch of ultimatums. Opponent hasn't really done anything yet. They Maze Mind Tome. They Scryed. One of the things about Tome is that when you scry with it, you're like forfeiting a card for later. So every scry is like almost a win for the opponent who's being scryed against. If the game's gonna go long, so that's kind of cool. But draw Bonecrusher. Bonecrusher not the best card in the matchup. Ultimatum not great either, honestly, because Ultimatum has the problem of just being really easy to counter. So, there's Igor. So we play on say go. We don't play a second Bonecrusher here. We're trying to play around Extinction Event, things like that. Get a little extra value off the shock on it. And opponent passes back. End step, Stomp. All pretty reasonable. Just setting up for Bonecrusher next turn. We want them to target the spot removal our Bonecrusher. Draw another Bonecrusher, because why not, right? And it's an all Bonecrusher game. Opponent hasn't cast a spell. It's not Tome yet. We can play Bonecrusher here. They draw a card, which is fine. They counter it, it's fine. They kill it, it's fine. They have Extinction Event at this point. We still have enough to stomp them and then play another Bonecrusher, which is fine. And setting up for a spot to try and cast Ultimatum. And there's your Extinction Event. So, good choice playing around that last turn. Got the extra 4 in off of the Bonecrusher, as well as the 2 off the Stomp. So, got 6 extra damage in. And they're also playing the event a turn off curve. One of the big things about playing against a control deck is you want them to play their spells when they don't want to play their spells. So, get them playing off curve. You know, make them kill things when they don't want to. That's definitely ideal. So, draw a Visionary. We select a Visionary over Bonecrusher. We draw a land. We can play both. Looking to draw lands here, so we use ultimatums, and we miss. So, not ideal, but still in pretty good shape. And eventually, once we start drawing lands and casting ultimatums, we're going to force them to have a counterspell every single time, while also answering our creatures in pace with us playing them, because they're at 6. Play number 6 and say go. So now we're scared of like Shark Typhoon. They have like 7 cards in hand. We have we need to do things, because obviously we keep letting them draw cards with Maze Mind Tome and so on and so forth. That's not good. We're also about to gain 4 life, so we're effectively at 10, which is kind of awkward. And we draw a Beanstalk Giant. So we draw a Giant off of the Visionary, and we draw a Mammoth for our turn. So we have multiple things we can do. Everything costs 3. As long as we can cast the Beanstalk Giant, we can attack with the Visionary too. So just want to slowly deploy things while making our mana developed as well, so we can start getting ready to play Ultimatum. What's up, Marty? Opponent tanks on the Fertile Footsteps. And they decided to counter us to pay 3. So if this is an easy spot, they just pay the Mystical Dispute. There's no reason to allow them just a free card here by letting the dispute resolve. Instead of just playing a different spell, we can just pay for the dispute. So they have another one that's fine, just a 2-for-1. So, and then they have to burn a Neutralize, which is awesome. So now we play the Valley because we want to have the ability to cast Ultimatum, and we already have a 3-drop to play anyway. And now they've burned 2 counter spells, so that could both counter Ultimatum. So we're pretty happy to maybe start jamming next turn. We'll see what they do. They pass. Still have 6 cards in it. It's a lot. So we draw Triome. And now we have to decide if we want to jam Ultimatum or not. So you might think here, we're ahead. Let's just jam. They cast 2 counter spells last turn. But patience is the big thing that you learn in these matches. Patience. They had to burn a Neutralize on the Beanstalk Giant because they're just going to die if they don't counter things. So same idea. Trying to make them play things when they don't want to play them. They don't want to neuralize a Fertile Footsteps, but if they are going to die, they have to. You can't take it with you. So definitely a spot we're not going to play Ultimatum here. We attack. They have Shark Typhoon. We can play Ultimatum. I'm sorry, we can't. Never mind, it's not that plan. But Typhoon for 3. Not ideal. We get to play Bonecrusher. That's probably like the worst case scenario, having Shark Typhoon, but I think the attack's like probably fine. I don't know. I mean, the attack's not great. Not attacking is pretty tough too, though, because you have to do something. So, all right. So another Beanstalk Giant, another pass from our opponent with 7 cards in hand. We're gonna attack off of the trade with the Shark, which is fine. And we're just gonna Fertile Footsteps again. Same idea. 7 cards. No reason to play into a counter spell. Just keep playing things. Fertile Footsteps develops our mana, so you have more chances to double spell future in the game, and then just adds a threat that must be killed. Actually, we're just gonna cast Beanstalk Giant. Okay, this makes more sense, and they're gonna counter it, sure. So just play the threat. Not a great sequence for us because the Vision is obviously pretty good at finding the next counter spell, but they find a Mystical Dispute. So pretty awkward against our Ultimatum. Very, very awkward game so far here with them at 10 life. We have 7 lands and 3 Ultimatums. They have a full grip because we weren't able to apply too much pressure early on because we only drew Bonecrusher Giants. So they play land number 8. Yes, I don't recall all the choices they made. It was a very long day. I played 17 tournament matches over the course of that day, and I was exhausted. So they just jam Ugin here, which is like kind of unbelievable. So they just have a bunch of cards in their hand, and they could have even waited a turn just to play Ugin and have self-dispute up to counter Ultimatum. Our deck list is definitely a known quantity, so it's not like it's like a big surprise we're playing Ultimatum in our deck. And we've just been holding these cards forever. Like, what else could they be? And like resolving Ugin's great and all, but
Sorry to interrupt, Jims. I just wanted to say I was paired against you round 3 with Drazi. Taxes and queues last year you were on Jeskai. I was promptly countered to oblivion. It remains the highlight of my Magic career.
Thanks, Tiny. Appreciate the resub. Month number 2, most important month. Thank you. So they just jam Ugin, and not really for any like major value, and like we can't really kill it off the board, and it can mop things up. So like they are resolving it, but definitely a risky play. So we play Ultimatum, and we hit a Terror and our own Ugin, and then 3 spells. Obviously Cultivate, not super good, but it's something. Smashing is also fine, and now we get to just shoot their Ugin. They can minus their Ugin to kill our Terror, but then we can bolt their Ugin again and kill it. So good hit. You know, they spent 8 for an Ugin. We spent 7 and got a Terror of the Peaks for our trouble as well. This Cling in their graveyard also represents some card draw. So Extinction Event's fine. Just kills Terror 1 for 1, not really a big deal. So we got cards off of our Ultimatum for sure. And then you get in this weird like Ugin battle where they just bolt each other and can't really get anywhere or make any progress. Draw another Cultivate, awesome. And this turn we could cast Ultimatum, but they obviously have the dispute. We're not going to try and trade to force next turn. So we just make land drops here. We can just cultivate all the lands out of our deck and set up a situation where we can double spell, possibly even double ultimatum in one turn. So just let it all ride here. And then the Ugins are kind of just dueling. They kind of just like bolt each other and never really get anywhere. I suppose eventually their Ugin would kill our Ugin. So I think their Ugin is one higher than ours is. Maybe not though, I don't know. But so play always cultivates, thins our deck too. So now we have almost no lands left, which is pretty great. Yeah, it's 8-5. They have Vantress. They also have Lochthwain and Cling to Dust. So they definitely had some late game like advantage here where they can keep scrying and scrying and drawing and scrying and so on and so forth. So on some pressure to actually like end the game, but they top. Top is kind of scary, obviously. But all right, they play an Ashiok. So Ashiok's good. Under the threat goes along with their Ugin. Now they can actually pressure our Ugin. And the good news is our hand's pretty good. Oh, there's Igor. We draw Beanstalk Giant. At this point, we have one basic left in our deck. So, not irrelevant. Smashing here is very nice, because it's the land that's like, going to hopefully kill two things. We could Smashing for like a bajillion and try and kill stuff, but we've negated their dispute by cultivating 10 times. So if we just fire up Ultimatum here with the intent to minus our Ugin if we have to, I think. We'll see what happens exactly. Alright, so it resolves, which is a little surprising, honestly. And we hit another Ugin, unfortunately. Now, not that bad, because we could just put it through our hand, obviously. So, also awkward, because now we want to minus our Ugin, too. So, the setup here is to just put all the cards into our hand. Put the land into play, which is fine. Minus our Ugin, and then start setting up for next turn. So we can deal with their Planeswalker and their creature, and then set up to deal with Ugin the following turn. And we want to put enough stuff in play to pressure Ugin, but not so much that we get killed. So we want them to minus the Ugin. So it goes down low enough to kill it with our own Ugin. And they're going to dispute the Lotus Cobra. Just feel like they're just assuming that the dispute's going to be dead anyway. So the Ugin, they minus, kill our board, it's fine. And we should keep going here. They have 3 cards left now. Still have both Castles and Cling, so they are definitely doing stuff. So we'll start on just trying to kill Ugin with Shatterskull Smashing. Probably the worst card in our hand, honestly, but killing Ugin is very good value. So start with your worst cards, usually a good place to be against the counterspell deck. Again, trying to make them play things when they don't want to play them. So countering this is not something they'd be very happy to do. And they're going to Cling Cultivate. So as I was saying, they do have this kind of like card draw engine here of Cling. You draw extra cards. They have these castles. So some amount of pressure on us to do things, but not so much that we're just jamming stuff. And now we have 4, 8, 9 mana. We have 1 basic left in our deck, so the Fertile Footsteps is still alive. But we're just going to cast the Beanstalk Giant because it is a lethal threat. And same thing, you know, Beanstalk Giant, probably the worst threat in our hand, but it is also just a card that kills him in one swing. So it forces him to do something. So play that, trade 1 for 1, that's fine. They draw an Encroaching Waste, the creature land, which complicates things a little bit because Ugin can kill Ugin, but we draw another Ultimatum, and now I'm going to manage to just do basically everything. So jam Ugin, and then we jam Ultimatum. Ultimatum probably better than Ugin because we can just win the game on the spot. They have a Selendi Vision in response, which is still fine, so they counter us. We still have another Ultimatum and Visionary, but now we're hitting the point where they're kind of out, and we're trying to just finally get there. So they get a Seagate Restoration. We get Terror, and they're dead. So with the deck being so thin at this point, we're aware that Ultimatum will probably just kill them on the spot. So that's why we valued the Ultimatum over the Ugin. So here you can see the deck list. Just the same ramp list again that Emma and Autumn played in the MPL thing. Pretty standard. Nothing really crazy here. Just Temur Ramp. So we're going to want to bring in all of our more nimble things. So Mystical Dispute, Shark Typhoon. Vivien's also a great thing to play on sticks in play. We want to trim down on our ultimatums and expensive things because they're very easy to counter, especially with Dispute. Trim down on Bonecrusher Giant because it's just not very good. As you saw that game, doesn't really do much. And our Glasspool Mimics aren't very good with things not being in play. So just making it like a little bit leaner here. Shark Typhoon's a big pickup, as is Mystical Dispute. Couple Bonecrushers are fine because they can just stomp things. I briefly consider bringing in a Chainweb or two, just as a way to keep having a spell to cast over and over again, and it can kill mid-sized sharks, but ultimately decided against it. So, game 2, up a game. And remember that game. That game we drew 3 Bonecrushers and 3 Ultimatums and all lands the first like 10 turns, which is pretty cool. So, this game we keep a 2-lander. I'm sorry, that's the Mammoth. 3-lander, double Cobra, Mammoth, Visionary. Pretty solid hand here. Early Cobra to force them to interact with it. They have Maze Mind Tome, which is pretty good. It's probably their ideal turn to play. And our goal here is to stick a Vivien. Probably our most durable threat. Their lands are super awkward, which is nice for us. Dispute is a great pickup because now we can defend our own stuff. Play Cobra number 2. See if we're going to get scattered here or anything. Sure, that's fine. So no real big deal. I mean, we're up on cards here, and we're up on the board as well, so we're pretty happy just trading off. We play the elephant here as a land because we're trying to get to a spot where we can play Vivien with Dispute backup. And the extra creature doesn't matter as much as the lands. We have plenty of things to do with our mana. We want to get to a spot where we're casting a spell and then you have Dispute, or we're playing Visionary, things like that. So there goes the Lotus Cobra. Makes us very, very happy we put our land because we need more mana, obviously. And they put in a Seagate Reborn untapped, probably just to Maze Mind Tomb. But so, land number 4, pretty easy Visionary, I think. We should play it, draw a card, leave Dispute up, puts a threat in play. It's 2 for 1. A card like Visionary is very good in a matchup like this because it's card advantage. It's also a fine card and a ramp. So, all right, so we draw Cultivate, which is actually a really good draw because we're kind of interested in just developing our mana. We have all these things to do, and they're going to negate it, which is fine. But Cultivate, really, really ideal. Also, it allows us to play a Fertile Footsteps or another Visionary, but still a fine spot because now they're using their counter spells on our ramp instead of our payoffs, which is great because eventually we'll draw lands and cast them anyway. So when you're playing ramp against control deck, you're in no rush at all. You know, you're just trying to kind of bleed them out and threaten them. So now we get to play Vivien with our Dispute up, which is awesome. There's Neutralize, there's a Dispute. Been setting that one up all game, obviously. And now once Vivien's in play, things are great because we have another 2 for 1 here. Where we play Vivien, make it 3/3. They got to beat the 3/3 and the Vivien. So that's awesome for us. Also have Visionary already in play, and we get some Boom Booms in our hand too. So choices here: Reach, Trample, and Vigilance. They have very few blockers and very few attackers. We choose Vigilance there. I guess we were considering with the 2/3s from Ashiok. I think Reach to block Sharks is probably a little more is fine too, but it's obviously very, very low impact as far as the choice goes. But all right, so they have land number 7 here. So they have 7 lands. They get some castles in there, get the Barons in there. They have 2 tomes as well, but they are behind on the board significantly, and they're at 13. And there's Igor again. But they're under a heaping load of pressure here because they're going to die to the board in like 2 turns. And there's no one card that cleans this board up. Can't Extinction Event. I guess Ugin would clean the board up if they had Ugin next turn. But for the most part, this board is pretty impenetrable. So they go for a hardcast Shark Typhoon, which is a pretty big game. That's a big time play. And we're lucky enough to play Beanstalk Giant on top, which we're able to cast with the minus ability on Vivien, go get a Terror of the Peaks, and then hit them for a bunch, which is kind of a cool sequence. And it's a lot of damage. So build a huge board now. Now we are a little vulnerable to Extinction Event, but realistically, like the Terror was free anyway, and the Beanstalk Giant was also free because we paid it off the top of our deck. So we're not really losing any cards in the exchange, which is good. So now we have this massive board. There's Extinction Event, so sure. And not ideal because they also get a Shark off it too. So this Shark Typhoon could like definitely turn the corner here. if they can play a few more spells. Bear, thanks for the sub. Appreciate that. So draw Cobra, land on top. Playing Visionary will help clear the top card, which is pretty cool. In no rush to play anything too good because they have mana up and stuff. We draw another land on top, which isn't great. Lotus Cobra. We can Beanstalk here too, or not Beanstalk. Fertile Footsteps, which is kind of cool. Shuffle away the top card, get some more mana in play, and they're gonna dispute the Fertile Footsteps, which unfortunately gives them another 3/3, which kind of sucks. But now they're out. Now they're out. Grizzle Bear, I'm happy to have you, my friend. Thanks so much. Love my YouTube viewers. So make a 3/3. Gonna give it reach, obviously, because they have the Sharks in play. I believe the other token has Vigilance. I think that was a mistake, honestly. Should have just been reach.
About YouTube. Hope that gets resolved soon.
Thanks, Thylian. Appreciate that. So yeah, I think that giving the Elk like 6 turns ago Vigilance instead of reach was a mistake, and this is why. And this sort of foresight really matters. Things you can easily miss in a game. Maybe you don't realize it actually matters, affects the game, but definitely a thing. So now they're turning the corner here. Despite our extremely good start, they now have multiple Sharks in play, Shark Typhoon in play, Maze Mind in play, all these castles in play, and the Sharks pressure Vivien really well. And we're starting to run low on things to do. Now they are pretty fresh on cards, obviously, because they were empty-handed like a turn or two ago. So Ugin could be safe, but Ugin's like not even great at the moment because while it can -0 to kill the Sharks, kills our Elk too. Shark Typhoon still in play, so we're not really sure if we even want to Ugin yet. So we're just gonna keep pressuring. They are 5, so we are gonna keep threatening. We attack there, and they don't block with the Shark, signifying that they want to attack Vivien. Make another Reacher, and now we have this Triome. We know our top card, so cycling it in right now doesn't really matter. We could play it, because it is land number 6 for Ugin if our board is wiped or things die. That's what we're going to do. So this makes the Visionary and the Cobra less important on later turns as well. So alright, so past turn here, we've got more stuff than them, but they have to draw a card, gain some life. Selene Vision's a really good one. It's a 3/3 flyer and a good card, but it bricks. So, fortunate turn of events for us at the Selene Vision bricks, but it's still a 3/3 flyer, which is very good. So, now they have this army of Sharks, and Vivien is no longer long for this world. Again, if that Elk on the left had reached that Vigilance, would be fine here, but you know, that seemingly insignificant play from like 6 turns ago, that's magic for you. I mean, people forget that all the time. They'll totally forget they made that choice, and they could have done something better there. Be like, I couldn't do anything. I drew all lands. So we draw another Vivien, but it's gonna be pretty hard to defend here. But we are, pretty ahead as far as light totals go. We have 4 creatures in play. They had to attack our Vivien, and they're gonna fire up a defensive Crawling Barons here. And now they have the option to block and pump the Barons in combat. That frees up our Ugin. So now playing that land last turn ended up being really important. But they're not going to do that, saying that they have a counterspell. So that's fine. Vivien's probably going to have to draw a counterspell out. And then Ugin's clear for takeoff next turn. Cool. That works out well. A lot of Sharks, though. A lot of Sharks. And now we're from being in a very, very good position, in a position where we kind of have to resolve this Ugin. They need to brick for a turn here and not draw a counterspell. Which hopefully will happen because we are dead next turn. Now they choose to play a tapped land here, which looks bad because they why would they play a cycling land if they didn't have a spell to cast? But they have Castle Lockthwaite in play, so they might be just trying to empty their hand and maybe get a castle off. So not as damning as it could be, but. Now we're at a spot where we just have to cast the Ugin. Ultimatum is just easier. It's not easier to counter, but just too risky. But play the Ugin and it resolves. So surprising to say the least. And now we have this Ugin. The question is, what do you want to do with it? So we can -0 kill all the Sharks, but that also kills our Elk. And then if they have any sort of spell, make a new shark, it's a problem. We can -6, which would kill the Shark Typhoon and all the sharks and all our stuff. That leaves Ugin at 1, which is honestly pretty safe. And then stops them from making a surprise attacker with the Shark Typhoon and stops all future sharks. So I decide I'm going to probably kill everything. So we'll attack first and see what they do. Get our shot in. The Ugin is also lethal as far as bolting them. So now we have a lethal Ugin next turn. There are 2. And minusing to 1 isn't really get punished by anything, except for maybe like a Shark Typhoon, which would be good anyway. So we're gonna -6, not allow them to have basically a board, and try and remove their ability to come back in this game. Because even if they have a way to deal with Ugin, well, at least the Shark Typhoon is gone, and we still have Ultimatum in our hand too. Oh wait, I could have just killed him. Oh no, I couldn't kill him actually. I'm sorry. So this is actually the key point of the game. It's really interesting. So the reason why we don't bolt them is because I'm playing around Cling to Dust. Because if I bolt them and they have Cling to Dust, it's always on one of his video too, or this thing. So if I bolt them here and they have Cling to Dust, the game ends and we lose. They attack the Ugin and we lose the game on the spot. So right here, what I'm doing is I'm playing around the card Cling to Dust. It's the only card we can lose to, and we will lose the game on the spot if we try and bolt and kill them. But by making the play that I'm making here, we're minusing to wipe out the entire board. If they have somebody to deal with Ugin, good for them, I guess. I mean, they have it. And we still have Ultimatum also. So if they have Claim, we straight up lose. And that was the thought process here. It'd be a lot better if I said it beforehand, but whatever. So -6, kill everything. Put ourselves in an unbelievable spot. Right? With no comeback potential, really. You know, what's the comeback? The best card they could have here is probably Shark Typhoon for 5, which would be good, but not the end of the world. So they castle. They think for a while. And again, they don't remove this Ugin very easily. They might have a few cards that remove from the battlefield. That's really it. So and the payoff. So they had the Cling. So good job, Jim. Good job, past Jim. Well done. You think more clearly than Jim who's reviewing your matches. So they go up. They get to draw a card, and the Cling's still in the graveyard to gain 3 life in case the Ugin bolts them next turn, which is awesome. So they draw. First thing we do is bolt them, obviously. So it forces them to tap 4 mana for their Cling to Dust, and then we have to make some choices here. Are we going to cast the Ultimatum to a possible counterspell? We drew a Mammoth, which is going to be a lethal threat. So we're not really pressed to play with Ultimatum yet, because same sort of thing. We cast Ultimatum and they counter it, untap and kill Ugin. Now we got nothing. So always trying to play the most threatening thing that is the least, or I guess the least threatening thing that's still threatening. So play Mammoth. They have to counter. So it was Essence Scatter. So they couldn't have actually countered the Ultimatum probably, but still fine. Still fine. And there you go. Cycle Neutralize. That would have countered the Ultimatum. But they're desperate because they're going to die now. They have no choice. They spike the Bloodchief's Thirst, but we still have the Ultimatum. Now we draw Shark Typhoon. So now what do we do? So now the Ultimatum looks good, but once again, they could have a counterspell. We're not really in any rush to try and win because now you have Shark Typhoon. So now you can go end step Shark Typhoon and then cast the Ultimatum. The basic tenet of how playing against a control deck is never cast your spells. Always try and find, you know, the path of, I guess path of least resistance fear, but no, that's not a good way of saying it. But so they draw, they play the Barons. We cycle Shark Typhoon for a whole bunch, and if they have an answer to this, we still have the Ultimatum. So now we've gotten everything kind of going. So cycle Triome, and that should probably be it. It is true if you wait too long, the control deck can find things they need. You shouldn't be doing nothing just to do nothing. You should be trying to find the things you can do to pressure them without making them able to play the things they want to play when they want to play them. How about that? So, definitely, I think that match was a good lesson in patience. There's a lot of times we could have just jammed, and we got gotten blown out. especially those last 2 turns. You know, we easily lose that game in either spot if we cast the ultimatum into their neutralize, or we plus the Ugin trying to kill them into their cling to dust. So it's important to recognize you need to pressure them, but not go so far as to burn all your resources. You want to use the least amount of resources possible in the way that makes things most awkward for them. You want them to cast their spells when you want them to cast them, not when they want to cast them. If you play into a control deck on curve, they crush you. Essence Scatter your 2-drop, counter your 3-drop, bounce your 4, whatever, and they just get to play all their cards on curve and kill you, and it's just a joke. But when you can make them work, squirm a little and not, they got to play that neutralize on turn 4. They got to Essence Scatter as Lotus Cobra on turn 6. Ugh, these things feel bad, That's how you do it. So, YouTube folks, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you like this kind of content. I can go over some more matches. And yeah, YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. Love you.